Aloha! Welcome to Math Camp. I'm your camp counselor, Dane, and today's lesson is on fractal cuts and the Tower of Hanoi. Get a quarter, nickel, penny, and dime for the Tower of Hanoi, and I'm thinking you may get more out of this if you get a piece of graph paper first. The inspiration for fractal cuts comes from a book by Diego Uribe called Fractal Cuts. To perform the fractal cut, you will need a piece of graph paper, a scissors, and a writing implement. Now, for those of you in my class, I have actually done some of the work for you. So what you really want to do if you have a piece of graph paper is to cut out a square that's 32 squares along both sides of the square. Okay, so if you've got this printed up, all you'll do is you cut out the big square that's 32 squares on a side. And make sure to recycle the schnibbles. So you should have something that looks like this. Now we see how well you follow directions. What we're going to do is we're going to fold this in half. Not diagonally, but vertically or horizontally. And then if you just have a piece of graph paper and you don't have this version of it, let me describe to you what we've done here. What you'll do is you'll count 8 squares over and then draw a segment that is 8 squares up. Count 4 squares over. Draw a segment that's 4 squares up, 2 over, 2 up, 1 over, 1 up, and you should have 1 square left over. Then count 2 over, and then go down. Reverse the process. 1 over 1, 2 over 2, 4 over 4, and then down. Okay, so you should have something that looks like this. Now, we are going to repeat the same steps over and over again. Cut, fold, etc., etc., etc. So, cut that segment. Cut this segment. Open it up. Now what you're going to do is you're going to reverse the fold, right? This crease here. You're going to reverse it so that the fold is inside. So you may want to watch me first so you can see what it looks like. So you should have something that looks like you from one perspective. When you open it up, you have that little trough in there, right? It's going to look like this. So we're going to repeat what we just did. We are going to cut along the segments. In this case, it's not quite as deep. So you will be cutting 2 folds, right? You've got 2 of these folds. And you want both of them to be folded in reverse. Okay? This might take a while, especially if you got fat fingers like I do. But take your time. Don't fold them over. Okay? Don't fold it over. Fold it in. So, you should have a U inside of a U. Could call that a W. And when you open it up, you should have these two troughs, but you still got the original one you have here. So continue. Okay, it gets harder as you go along because it's going to be thicker each time. So cut these two. And then now, how many are you going to have? Right? You're basically doubling each time. So you're going to have 4 of them. The folding is actually easier, but the cutting is going to get harder because the folds won't, well, actually, it's going to get really hard, I guess, at the end because they're really small folds. And again, if you have fat fingers like me, that's tough. And if you really want to have fun and make yourself a card, a greeting card or something like that, you want to use colored paper. I think I'm getting there. I think I did it. All right. So now we have a U inside of a U inside of a U, a triple U, and one more cut. And this is the hardest to cut. There's going to be how many I'm cutting into now? Remember, we're doubling each time, and we just did 4, so it should be, what, 8? All right. So I'm going to try to attempt to fold each one of those, and I will come back to you. You don't have to watch this. All right, you should have something that looks like this. When you open it up, got these little stair steps. Ooh, it's actually an iteration of a fractal, but we don't have to talk about that. So we're going to use this to help us solve the Tower of Hanoi puzzle. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to take your marker or writing implement, and I'm going to use L and R for left and right. So the really big stair, see there's one really big stair. I'm going to call that L for left. And then there are 2 that are slightly smaller, half as small, right? I'm going to use R. And then there are 4 of, not the smallest ones, but the next one. So that's going to be L, 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 and L. And I'm not going to label the really itty bitty ones. They're going to be R's, but I'm going to remember that, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put out the Tower of Hanoi with 4 coins. So there we go. So we're going left and right, and when you're going up the steps, okay, I'm going to start at the bottom and walk my way up. Whenever I have to go right and I'm at the end, I just wrap around. Or when I have to go left and I'm at the end, I'm going to wrap around. Okay, so we're really talking about clockwise and counterclockwise. Okay, smallest step is the smallest coin. It's the dime. And it's always going to have an R on it. It's always going to go to the right. Okay, so dime goes to the right. Next, penny goes to the left, wraps around. Dime goes to the right. This is the nickel. Nickel goes to the right. Dime goes always to the right. Now it's going to wrap around. Then we go left with the penny. Right with the dime. The big L, that's the quarter, and it's going to go left, but it wraps around. Then the dime goes to the right, the penny to the left, the dime to the right. I'm going to wrap around. nickel to the right, then dime always to the right. Got that? And then the penny goes to the left. Remember, wraps around. And then finally, the dime goes to the right. Fini? I hope you enjoyed this lesson from Math Camp. Aloha.